Hello, my name is Youngwoo Cho. I'm a professor in the Department of TESOL and Business English at Paje University in Daejeon, South Korea. I feel privileged to give this featured speech as a representative of KATE, Korean Association of English Education. The topic of my talk today is facilitating self-directed English speaking practice through an AI chatbot and coaching via Zoom video conferencing, a case study. I know that this is a very long title, but all these keywords are necessary to understand what this research is all about. And let me start with some background of my research. As we can see, we are living in an era where different types of technological tools are available that can be used to facilitate learner-centered instruction and especially self-directed language learning. And I believe that when we interconnect all these different advantages and along with coaching, we can promote self-directed language learning significantly. And another rationale for this study is provided by Todd Rose's book titled The End of Average. His book convincingly demonstrates the fact that there's no average person at all. As illustrated by these two men who share the same body size, but the subdimensions of the body sizes tell us a different story. There's no sameness at all. And these two girls also share the same IQ score, but the subdimensions of their ability profiles also show that there's no single same profile. So the implication is that even though standardization, average are important, individual optimization is equally important. So coaching, I believe, is effective in promoting individualized instruction and optimization of instruction. Coaching is defined as partnership with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. And this definition was provided by International Coaching Federation. Even though it's not about English education at all, it clearly shows that coaching is an optimal means for facilitating a process. And we all understand English learning as a process, and we want to promote this process. So I believe that coaching is an important concept that can be incorporated into the realm of English education. To understand what coaching is, we can compare coaching with counseling because they are commonly compared with each other. Counseling was originated from negative psychology, which is used to diagnose problems and finding solutions, whereas coaching originated from positive psychology, which is to facilitate change and growth. And you can understand that language learning is a process, and we want to facilitate that process and development. And coaching is a more proper term compared to counseling or other terms. Then, what is coaching for language learning? CLL is a set of conversational skills, including empathetic listening, questioning, and feedback, to help learners improve their language skills. This definition was prepared in my earlier study. And it facilitates interlanguage development through conversational interaction. So we can say that CLL is basically an interactive approach to English learning or language learning, and it's based on mutual trust and partnership between coach and coachee. And this conceptualization is important in understanding what coaching for language learning is all about. As you can see here, that it's impossible for us to access learners' interlanguage system directly because it's a matter of language acquisition. But we can use coaching to facilitate the development of the learning process. This is an indirect approach, whereas we can facilitate language skill development, which is more directly related to interlanguage system. So two things. We use coaching for promoting, facilitating the learning process, and also for developing the learner's language skill or skills. There are four main coaching skills: listening, questioning, and feedback giving, and there are some compliments. And there are five don'ts. We don't teach, we don't control, we don't dominate, we don't blame or criticize. These five don'ts are important in coaching. You're not supposed to do these things in coaching. Um, on the other hand, you are encouraged to use active and empathetic listening, and your questions are open-ended and future-oriented. And even though you can provide feedback, they are mostly positive, and negative feedback can be given, but they are given in the form of constructive suggestions for the future. There are some sample questions for coaching to help you understand what coaching is. For example, I can ask, what have you accomplished so far through your English learning efforts? Or I can ask, if there's one thing you want to change in the way you practice English, what would that be? As you can see here, the type of questions used in coaching are quite different. They are qualitatively different from ordinary questions. These questions are effective in stimulating the learner's intellectuality and provide them some motivation to think about what they want to be in the future and why they need to improve their English proficiency. A common model used in coaching is a GROW model. Each letter represents the stage used in the coaching conversation. First is goal. It talks about what your goal is. The second component is reality. You talk about where you are. And the options represent the action plans that the learners can come up with the help of the coach. And the will represents the motivation needed to put the chosen action plan into action. So coaching mediates the reality and the goal, the future goal. And Zoltán Dörnyei's process-oriented model of motivation was used in my study. This model identifies three different stages: choice, executive motivation, and motivation retrospection. Each stage needs different needs. And when coaching is used, you can help the learner to make a proper choice for learning and provide enough motivation to put the chosen action into practice, and helps the learner to reflect on the performance and come up with some ideas to improve this process. So this is a cyclical process, and coaching comes in to facilitate this process. And Dörnyei's another model, more recent model of motivation, involves two different types of L2 self: ideal L2 self and auto L2 self. And ideal self is important in motivation because if you have a concrete ideal self that you want to be in the future, then you feel more stronger motivation. But our learners, especially in Korea, are trained to develop auto L2 self, which means that you practice English because you feel that you ought to. So it's not really meaningful, and there's little joy in practicing English. So the focus of my study was to strengthen the learner's ideal L2 self. And this tree metaphor is useful in understanding the relationships among teaching, training, and coaching. Teaching and training are conventional concepts, whereas coaching is a relatively new concept. I don't deny the importance of teaching and training, but believe that coaching needs to be added to this tree because only coaching can promote the type of knowledge that can help the learner to reflect on their performance and internalize the knowledge that they have acquired. And in my recent study, I developed this instructional model where coaching was added to the traditional teaching and training components. And when this model can be differentiated according to the learner's proficiency level and needs, there are three different variations. This model is typical in regular classrooms where the teaching module is the biggest, and then training and coaching comes in. But when learners are at the advanced level and they have acquired a big amount of knowledge already and they are trained enough, then what they need is coaching. So the third model was adopted in my study because the learner who participated in the study was an advanced learner. And when capitalizing on the recent technological development, I believe that an AI can be used in this coaching session, even though a typical coaching session involves the coach and the learner. We can use an AI to facilitate the coaching process, like a chatbot. So, in my study, I used the Zoom video conferencing as a distant education tool, and I used coaching and used the AI chatbot to actualize self-directed speaking practice. And the purpose and research questions are as follows. What is the effect of coaching for promoting self-directed English speaking practice? What is the effect of an AI chatbot for improving a Korean EFL learner's speaking ability? And finally, is Zoom video conferencing effective for one-on-one coaching for language learning? And the participant was a female 22-year-old fourth-year English major. She had an excellent academic ability and strongly motivated to improve English speaking ability, and she volunteered to participate in this project after taking the course on English writing. And the instructional context was like this. The typical classroom instruction was supported by the four sub-modules: Smart LMS, Learning Management System, and they can access, the learners can access LMS online, and they take quizzes and they complete the assignments, and they can use the question and answer discussion board. And some of the learners who are lagging behind receive one-on-one tutoring, but those of the learners who are more advanced compared to others receive one-on-one coaching. And as a result of all these classroom module and the sub-modules, they conduct self-directed learning, and their performances are assessed through the midterm and final exams. So my studies on this third sub-module, one-on-one coaching, the advanced student. And the procedure is week 1 was diagnosis, and the coaching as a treatment was given between week 2 and 8, and evaluation 1 was week 9, and evaluation 2 was week 14. And I used the movie Spider-Man 3 as the materials for speaking practice and coaching, and Zoom was used for the conversation, and AI chatbot called Ellie, which was developed by a research team at Jungang University in Korea, was used in my study. And this chatbot was quite smart in answering all my questions, and so we had some simple basic conversations. And this chatbot had a task-based module, so it was effective in practicing English in a concrete communicative context. And the oral interview test was given using a free talking task and a narrative task, and which consists of familiar scenes and unfamiliar scenes. And 2 raters measured the results based on the recorded videos. And this was the scores and descriptor scheme for the speaking test based on Kim 2015. And there were 9 levels of English speaking ability. And the diagnostic questionnaire was for measuring learners' self-directed English learning ability, which consists of 3 sections and looked like this, and in Korean. And section B was there to make sure that this questionnaire had enough face validity. So the learner responded to these 2 items, and this was to ensure that learners recognized the validity of this questionnaire. And the section C was on measuring the learner's perceived language skill development, listening, speaking, reading, writing, and grammar, vocabulary, and expression. And this used the 7-point Likert scale. And the data consisted of four sources: video recordings, and the transcripts, and SDLL, self-directed language learning questionnaire result, and the reflective journals. I'm not finished with analyzing all the data, so what I'm going to present today is just part of the results. So the results about speaking ability. The two raters were professors of English education with 10 years of experience in English speaking testing. We've developed this oral interview testing in our department and have been using this for the last 10 years. And the two people measured the learner's pre and post-test result independently, and the agreement rate reached 100%. As you can see, that the learner's speaking ability clearly improved from level 2 to level 3. And based on the questionnaire results, there were some improvements. But for this self-esteem, self-efficacy, there were some differences. As you can see, the top score is 5, so there was no difference, even though because it was already high at the outset. But the self-efficacy has improved by 0.5. And this is inconsistent with the learner's response in the reflective journal that her level of self-efficacy improved. And her anxiety level was moderate, and it remained the same. An important observation was made about the choice motivation, executive motivation, and motivational retrospection compared to general, concept of motivation. Because the learners already had high levels of extrinsic and intrinsic motivation, but her motivations for these dimensions were quite low. But as a result of participating in this project, the learners felt that there was some significant improvement like this. And her use of learning strategy was reported to be improved also. And because this study was concerned with only listening and speaking, it's quite understandable that the learner felt that there were some improvements in listening and speaking, not in reading and writing. And she reported that there was no improvement in grammar, obviously because we didn't treat grammar seriously. But she believed that her vocabulary ability and expressive power improved a lot, because we practiced that a lot in our speaking session, coaching session. And she believed that this free talking component of the coaching session, which was a warm-up stage, was effective for fostering self-efficacy regarding English speaking. She responded in the pre-treatment interview that she had a lot of anxiety and she didn't have enough self-confidence and efficacy in speaking out in public. But after all this coaching treatment, she believed that her level of self-efficacy has risen a lot. That was a significant improvement. And what about the AI chatbot? The learner used the AI chatbot between the coaching sessions. It was quite convenient because the human coachee was not able to help the learner at all times, but the learners used this AI chatbot to practice English speaking whenever she wanted to. So it was effective for lowering anxiety of speaking because it was not human, and she used this AI chatbot every day, at least for 10 minutes. But there were two problems. First, she had a laptop, but she had some internet access connection issues. So when the internet didn't work properly, then she was not able to use the AI chatbot. But this problem is not limited to AI chatbot, but is just a matter of internet access issue. A more, a bigger issue is about the, relationship with human-like interaction. Even though it was a convenient tool, it was not up to human-like interaction. So further development is needed in this area of research. And movie-based speaking coaching facilitated meaning-focused and instant speech production. It was useful in overcoming L1 interference and excessive reliance on form-focused processing. And this was evidenced in her report in the Reflective Journal and the post-treatment interview. And it was good to promote self-efficacy, and it required learners to produce the target vocabulary and expressions, which were quite obligatory in the given sense. And that's why she reported the improvements in the vocabulary and expressive power. And finally, video conferencing via Zoom was very, very effective. It was an effective medium for coaching conversation, and useful functions including recording, screen sharing, text chat, like file sharing and spelling provision, were all used effectively. So what are the implications of this study? This coaching approach and Zoom is an effective medium for coaching conversation, and the when we foster coaches for English learning, all these knowledge bases are needed for professional English coaches. Knowledge about input, interaction, output, and feedback, and conversational scaffolding, and understanding of learner motivation, and metacognition, which is critical in helping learners reflect on their performances and improvements. And when all these understandings of second language learning process is combined with coaching, then we can promote self-directed language learning, and learners can experience quality learning outside of the classroom. So this is all I have today, and I hope this research is useful in understanding what we can do with the currently available technological means. And I want to share this research about coaching so that more research can be conducted about coaching. Thank you very much for listening.